in Across the Fence, we're celebrating Arbor Day, and we'll meet the winners of Vermont's Arbor Day Art Contest. Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. Today is Arbor Day in Vermont. It's a special day set aside to celebrate trees and all of their benefits. There are Arbor Day events and activities happening all across the state today, including right here on Across the Fence. We're going to honor 8 Vermont youngsters who've written and illustrated their own Share a Tree story. To get things started, I'm joined by Rebecca Roy. Rebecca is the conservation educator at the Vermont Department of Forest, Parks, and Recreation. Alongside Rebecca is Gwen Kozlowski. Gwen is the outreach and education coordinator with the Vermont Urban and Community Forestry Program. Thanks so much for coming in. Now, Rebecca, one of the statewide Arbor Day events is the Growing Works of Art contest. What's that about?
We use this contest to engage students in Vermont from grades 1 through 8 in celebrating trees and our memories of trees. Students create artwork and do writing based on the theme of the year, and then we have a contest to pick the winners. One winner is awarded for each grade.
And so what's the theme this year?
The theme this year is sharing a tree story. So students thought about all the wonderful experiences and benefits they've gained from trees in their lives and shared a story and did an illustration to go along with the story.
Now, how many students or schools participated this year?
We had 27 schools and some homeschool families participate, and over 300 entries this year.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So how does the contest fit into the school's curriculum?
It's well integrated in the just heritage of outdoor learning in Vermont, as you know, and teachers really jump at the opportunity to celebrate trees and integrate that into the other things that they are doing outside.
Gwen, tell us a little bit about the history and the significance of Arbor Day in Vermont.
Sure. So Arbor Day is all about trees in Vermont, and the Growing Works of Art contest really, especially this year's theme in particular, really emphasizes and gets that point across. And hearing these young people's stories and connections with trees is really significant and inspiring. And Arbor Day in Vermont is something that maybe Vermonters might take for granted in a very forested state. About 80% of our state is forested, but many of your viewers know it wasn't always that way. In the late 1800s, many Vermonters, early settlers, had cleared and deforested a lot of the state for grazing, for timber, and other industries. So actually in 1885, our governor had declared the first Arbor Day, and this was emphasized all the important reasons why we value trees. And that message is ever so clear today with facing climate change and invasive species. Trees provide a multitude of benefits, from environmental to economic to even social contributions. So today, really, that message is loud and clear, and hearing these young people's stories is really wonderful.
What are some of the ways that people are celebrating Arbor Day this year?
Actually, we celebrated our second annual Arbor Day conference yesterday with about 100 attendees attending 16 different workshops ranging from everything on forest health and emerald ash borer identification to basics of tree pruning. And it was a really great event where people were networking and celebrating with trees. It was a really great day. Alternatively, if you weren't able to attend that day, we encourage tree planting. It's a very simple action. You could visit our website, vtcommunityforestry.org, where there's plenty of resources in learning how to plant trees properly. We like to say the right tree in the right place, the right way. And that is, you can find all the information to make sure you find the right tree for your home and garden.
All right, we're going to turn our attention now to the winners of the Arbor Day Growing Works Art Contest. Gwen, who are the young people that we're about to meet?
We are meeting young people from across the state, actually.
Awesome. Well, we're going to recognize the award winners by grade. Our first grade winner is Maymay Lane Carnes, who's from Calais, Vermont. Maymay's award-winning drawing features her favorite sapling with her perched in the branches. In her story, Maymay writes that she remembers the tree in a bunch of different ways. She remembers the spring smell and the summer shade. As for sitting in the tree, Maymay wrote, "I don't really know what kept me busy up there, but I do know that I could sit there for a long time." What a great story and a wonderful drawing, Mimi. Congratulations. Thanks for sharing. In second grade, the winner is Riley Jones of Rochester, Vermont. Riley's artwork shows a magnificent hemlock tree on a bright, sunny day. In his story about the hemlock tree, Riley wrote, "I like this tree because of all the ladybugs. In the winter, I climb the tree because the snow makes it easier to get to the branches." And Riley ends his story by noting that he likes the shape of the tree because it's a nice triangle. I agree. Nicely done. Congratulations. All right, moving on to third grade. Our award winner is Kyla Botello of the Ravenswood School in Thetford. She chose to highlight the willow tree. In her story, Kyla says, "Willows are one of my favorite trees. My willow is down by the river at my friend's. It's extra big. I watch it when I go by. She bows over a swimming pool in the river. She twirls around and she shades me when I'm hot. Willows are great trees, and they certainly do provide the shade that you write about. Congratulations, Kyla. Thanks so much for coming in. All right, our next winner is in 4th grade, the Waterville Elementary School, and it's this drawing by Cora Shivington. Cora's story is entitled A Memory of a Tree, and in her story, Cora writes, "When I was little, there was a tree, and that tree I named Leafy. Leafy wasn't a normal tree. He had a special trunk. The trunk twisted, and so it looked really cool. I loved to climb it and sit in it. I would also like to hang upside down off one of the branches. I was most excited about Leafy because it was the only tree that was climbable in my backyard." Great memories of Leafy. Thanks so much, Cora. Congratulations. Moving on to 5th grade now, the winner is Maxwell Clark of the Fletcher Elementary School in Cambridge. Maxwell's drawing features a beautiful Vermont scene. He called it a perfect morning. In his story, Maxwell describes a walk in the countryside. He wrote, "We decided to rest under a gigantic maple tree. The maple tree was leafless, but still colorful somehow. We gathered up sticks from the ground and wrote Vermont underneath the maple tree. Although the stick may have blown away in the wind, the memories will always stick in our hearts." Great story to go along with your beautiful drawing, Maxwell. Nice job and congratulations. All right, before we meet our 3 final winners, Rebecca, tell us a little bit about these drawings and stories and how they were judged.
So we received over 300 entries, as I mentioned before, and what I do is I take all of those and put them in a conference room in our office and open up voting to every employee in the Agency of Natural Resources. So we had about 200 people vote on the final choices for the winners.
Pretty serious.
Yes, yes.
Terrific. Okay, well, our next winner is Michaela Marinacci of the Waterville Elementary School, and Michaela focused on what she calls the turkey vulture tree. She says it's a dead tree in her backyard. It's very dark, as if someone took a match to it and lit it aflame. But Michaela says she liked that tree very much ever since the turkey vultures came to visit on a hot summer day. Now, Michaela is going to share the rest of her story with us.
Mom said they were probably just sunning themselves. We stood there watching them for what seemed like forever. Finally, Mom went back to doing what she was doing before, and I sat back down on the couch. I glanced out the window every now and then to look at the big vultures sitting in the big dead tree. Today, I still look out at that tree just to check if the vultures are sitting out there sunning their huge black feathers. That is the most interesting tree I can see from my house. I hope it stays there forever.
Well, that tree obviously means a lot to you. Mm-hmm. Kind of nice to see those turkey vultures. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for reading that for us. In 7th grade, the Growing Works of Art winner is Uma Chikova of Newbury. Welcome. In her drawing, Uma highlights the odyssey of life that she found in a decaying maple tree, and I'm going to ask Uma to share a portion of her story with us.
The dead maple was still beautiful, beaming with life and energy. Why do people think of fallen trees as litter polluting the forests? I remembered an article in the newspaper. Dead trees are an important part of the ecosystem. They bring food and shelter to many creatures. The resulting soil is nutritious compost for plants. Most importantly, the wood emits ozone, which helps block Earth from harmful solar radiation. Dry branches and trunks nurture seedlings, allowing them to mature by protecting them from being burnt and trodden on. Though fallen, dead trees are not a symbol of death. They represent life and rebirth, maintaining the intricate balance of nature.
Well, thank you, Uma. That's very nicely done. Tell me a little bit more about your picture. Is that a watercolor?
Yes.
And tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I first got the inspiration for the drawing by looking at the book by David Wisner. It's called Hurricane, and it portrays the story of 2 young boys who play around a dead tree. And I naturally remembered a fallen maple that crashed over our brook, and I spent a lot of time exploring its branches and trunk.
Do you do a lot of artwork?
Pretty much artwork, yes.
Mm-hmm. And so what was the best part of entering this contest, do you think?
I think it was writing the story.
Mm-hmm. It really made you think about trees and what they provide for us.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for being with us. Congratulations on your award. Our final winner today is 8th grader Isabella Gaffney of Bristol. Isabella's gorgeous picture is something that we'll be seeing soon, blossoming apple trees. And Isabella is here to share her story with us. And Isabella, tell me a little bit about your story.
So I wrote this story. I was thinking about, well, I was just looking out my window and trying to think of a tree story. So I saw the trees outside, and it was winter, so they looked so dead. And I was thinking about how they would look in the spring, and it brought back this memory.
Okay, go ahead and read.
It was a cool spring day when I first noticed how beautiful a pair of our apple trees were. Although I had watched them for many seasons, on that day they looked different. Bursting with newfound color, I couldn't help but be drawn over. I watched as a petal was loosened by a soft breeze before popping off its branch and falling back to earth. The sweet scents of the blossoms attracted bees who nuzzled the flowers collecting pollen. Even now, I wait for another day when the apple trees will once again open their blooms.
I love that, the nuzzling the blossoms. That's great. What inspired you to write about the apple trees?
Well, I was looking at another artist's drawings. I can't remember what their name was, but they had a picture of an apple, and it started getting me thinking about the apple trees at my house, and we had a whole little orchard outside. So,
as a result of being in the contest, do you have a better appreciation of trees, do you think?
I think I do. It got me thinking about all my tree memories and how important they are in my life.
And so tell me a little bit about your art projects. Do you do other art as well?
Yes, I do.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So I have done other poster contests, and I was thinking about what medium I should use for this. And I usually use pens, like felted tip pens, but this time I thought I would brighten it up with colored pencil.
Nice. And what do you think you'll take away from this experience?
I think I have a newfound appreciation for trees, just thinking about all the trees and how important they are in my life.
And do you have a favorite kind of apple?
Macintosh, actually.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much. Great work. Thanks for joining us on Across the Fence. All righty. Now, let's just talk a little bit more about Arbor Day and some of the things that, before we go, that some ways that teachers have incorporated this in their lesson plans.
Another great thing that teachers can integrate into their lesson plans to explore trees is Project Learning Tree, which is a conservation education curriculum for grades preschool through 12. And that has a lot of different activities that teachers can use in engaging teaching with trees.
And so a final word about Arbor Day?
Oh, we are excited. We hope that people get out and explore their trees in their backyards. If you think you found a big tree in your community, we have a registry of big trees. So I encourage people to get out, explore, and learn about their trees.
And it's really interesting too, because you have a whole way that you decide how big a big tree is.
Absolutely. So those actually they're on a state registry, and there's 3 separate measurements from height, crown spread, and circumference that actually encompass those big trees. So if you think you found one, let us know.
And what's the website again, too, if people are interested in more information?
vtcommunityforestry.org.
And what kinds of things can people find there?
There's all sorts of resources there, from including everything from how to plant a tree, maintenance, on tips on pruning, and all the basics with that. Planting a tree is a very simple idea, but it's something that's simple that people can get wrong, and that could lead to long-term lasting effects. So people want to make sure it's planted at the right height and not over-mulched.
Right, exactly. Well, I want to thank you all for joining me today. This is a lot of fun, and you guys are great artists and great writers as well, so thank you. That's our program for today. I'm Judy Simpson. We'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.